welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent. I'm Kathy Kerns, a member of this congregation and the worship associate today. I'm joined by Elizabeth Reilly, who is our worship leader. Elizabeth is a member at the Akron Unitarian Universalist Church, and she is also in training to be a commissioned lay minister in her congregation. Thank you for joining us this morning as we gather virtually once again, a spiritual community that seeks to be diverse and inclusive as we inspire love, work for justice, and grow together in community. This is a place where you can bring your whole self. Wherever you are this morning, we welcome you. May our time together be filled with joy, with belonging, with hope, and with the promise of who we can be together. We extend a special welcome to our visitors. Thank you for worshiping with us this morning. Visitors, if you'd like to know more about the church, please feel free to contact our church administrator to be added to our e-news list or to be welcomed by a member of the welcome team. I also want to express gratitude to our team leading worship remotely, including those who won't be on camera. We're a people who care for one another and value the connections we have with each other and with this community.
Do you want to sing up in the morning? Do you want to sing up in the day? Do you want to sing up in the morning? Do you want to sing up in the day? Good morning to me, good morning to you, good morning to me, good morning to you, good morning to me, good morning to you, good morning to me, good morning to you. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, good morning to me. Good morning to you, good morning to me, good morning to you. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
This is the day we have been given, and what a day it is. Oh, thank you to you generous souls who not only invited me to join you in extended family today, but eschewed my message at least long enough to hear it. I am so glad to be welcomed into your sacred space and time and to share it together. This weekend, we celebrate Labor Day, a memorial to the brave and persistent men and women of the much oppressed working class, who joined together to change the world. The labor movement cost many lives fighting inhumane working conditions. These men and women, among other demands, had the audacity to claim their right to leisure time, to play, to renewal. The first recorded mass strike in New York City was a parade that started by refusing to work and ended in joyful celebration and picnicking. Let us honor those brave forebears, recommit to fighting for the well-being of all current workers, and embrace the power and purpose of play as a part of what it means to be fully human. This indeed is the day we have been given. Let us together rejoice in it and be glad. I invite you to join in lighting your chalices with me. Our chalice invites us to play. The flame encourages us to explore. It calls us to laugh and dance and sing. It calls us to live through life's pain and sorrow, to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. Today, we light this chalice in the spirit of play. Let us trust the light to guide us in this hour and in the days to come, finding joy along the way. Let us renew our commitment by saying our covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
We pause on Sunday mornings in the spirit of deepening our connections, creating a sense of belonging, and offering each other support and compassion in our life journeys as individuals and as a community. We take time now to share our joys and concerns, our struggles and achievements, our hopes and dreams with one another. Please use the chat box to share with one another. Becky shares that her brother, who suffers from multiple myeloma, I apologize if I'm not saying that right, is in the hospital with complications from COVID. We send Becky, her brother, and their whole family all our good wishes and hope that he recovers soon. Max is celebrating the life of his dear friend, Kate, who passed away 2 weeks ago. The Craverdine family shares the joy that Aaron's sister bought a house about 2 miles away. Kat Holtz wishes a happy 10th birthday to Kailani. Brad is thinking of Larry Cole, who's still recovering in the hospital, but hopes to be home September 15th. We send our good wishes to Larry for further healing. Ryan says we're new to UU, and we are so thankful we found such a wonderful community. Welcome, Ryan. We look forward to meeting you in person one day. Judy Brannon has a double joy. They're going to celebrate Ike and Joe's 10th birthday and Judy and John's 49th wedding anniversary. What a week of fun for your family. We'll be thinking of you all. Those are really joyful occasions. Susanna shared and Dave share that the good news that David's sister Ann is officially in remission.
Voice of yearning, heard in the silences, nurtured in the depths of our beings. Draw us into the embrace of intentional community. Echo of longing, power of reaching beyond ourselves. Draw us into the vast tide of humanity where we find our ways of belonging. Ringing bell of purpose, renew in us our pursuit of justice. Today, especially, on behalf of those upon whose toil and desperation our own comfort depends. Let there be no more willingness to allow essential work to be done by precious beings we treat as expendable workers. Deep source of comfort, abide with us. Release our fears. Open us to joy.
Good morning to all of the young ones and all of the young at heart. Today, our story is based on a story by Mary Ann Moore about playing hide and seek with God. Now, as Unitarian Universalists, we understand the word God is a name that some people use, and some people use other words like spirit of life, love, divine. Some people choose not to use names at all, right? So let's begin our story, Hide and Seek with God.
Once upon a time, God said, I'm bored because I don't have anything to do. I want to play with my friends.
When God's friends gathered, they said, let's play something. How about hide and seek?
Good idea. Let's play it backwards, and I'll hide.
God's friends were very excited because making up new rules always makes playing more fun. And they knew that God always thought of a wonderful place to hide. They closed their eyes tight and counted to 10. When they opened their eyes, God wasn't there anymore. So they all went off to look for God.
God had chosen some very hard to find places to hide, and soon the seekers forgot they were looking, and each started to play their own favorite games.
One friend loved to look closely at the meadow where they were playing. She stopped to admire the tender new sprouts of green grass and flowers pushing their way up toward the sun. As they bent over to look more closely at the tender green, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. So they jumped up and ran back to home base, calling out, I found God. God is green and growing. I found God in the grass and the flowers.
Another friend enjoyed watching clouds and lay finding shapes until the sun went down and it began turning into night, their favorite time. They heard the workaday noises stop and saw the lights in the houses go out. As it got darker and the peaceful night wrapped itself around them, they listened very hard. And then they realized that there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. And when it was so still that they could see and hear nothing at all, they suddenly jumped up and ran to home base calling out, I found God! God is dark and peaceful. I found God in the quiet night.
The third friend went to find people to play sports with. Z joined a group of people playing soccer in a field, laughing and making teams. During a snack break, someone came up and said, please, I'm very hungry. Could you share a little food with me? Yes, please join us. Everyone is welcome, they all exclaimed. As Z watched them share, Z realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about those people. And Z turned around and ran back to home base, calling out, I found God. God is love and sharing. I found God in people who care for others.
A fourth friend walked in the woods and felt the mystery of the trees growing toward the sun. He saw the moon rise and felt the mystery of the stars. He thought, these mysteries are special and amazing and wonderful. But when he finally came back to home base, he said, I've found wonderful mysteries, but I'm not sure if I want to call them God.
2 more of God's friends decided to play make-believe together, and they dressed up and started admiring themselves and playing roles in the big mirror in the playroom. As they looked into the mirror, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful being reflected in it. They hugged each other and ran to home base calling out, "We found God! We found God in us!"
At this, God appeared, laughing and clapping, shouting, I had so much fun. Weren't those good hiding places? Some of you found me. Others weren't sure. Others are still looking. And some don't think I'm anything to find. Isn't it great? Because the most important thing is just to play.
Friends, this story makes me think of our 4th principle, how we focus on a free and responsible search for what is true and what is meaningful to each of us. And that can look different between all of us, between me and you and the rest of the people in our church. We all have different answers when we find God. I wonder this week if you'll take a moment to play hide and seek with what you call God and see what you find.
Well, thank you so much to Colleen for doing that story with me. I just love working with Colleen, and I love working with all of the children. So I want to start by thanking Ike and Josephine for that wonderful cover art and to wish them happy birthday. Now, just like our bodies need food to keep on going and to grow strong, our souls, spirits, hearts need play for those exact same reasons. The wonderful thing about playing is that we get totally wrapped up in what we are doing and everything else just fades away. It frees us from ourselves and the world, the rules and the boxes for just a bit. And play actually helps our brains grow and work better. Play and pleasure in play release the happy chemicals in our brain, endorphins like serotonin and the neurotransmitter dopamine that help us feel good and explore life. They support our sense of well-being, happiness, and trust in the future. And in that space, we are open to learning and imagining and growing, and to experiencing the deep comfort, connection, certainty, and refreshment that some people call God. Somehow, when we play, we are in love with the world, and we know the world loves us too. With nothing to distract us, totally engaged, we are able to live for just a time without fear or anxiety in the purity of enjoyment. In what Episcopal priest and spiritual director Margaret Gunther calls holy uselessness. Playing helps us push that holy reset button, and then, like magic, meaning and purpose are renewed. Play actually bubbles up from our limbic systems, our deepest, most primitive, embodied selves know We need to play. Our higher brains do not develop unless we play. Brain scientists know that overcoming fear and anxiety, limbic responses, gives the creative and the problem-solving parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex et al., a chance to develop and grow and guide us. Now, one of the things that happened all around the world when people were shut up in their homes to stay healthy is that animals everywhere came out to explore and play in those human spaces. Shy mountain goats roamed in the streets of Welsh villages. Kangaroos went in gangs to visit backyards and play in the gardens of Australia. Bears came out of the woods to swim in swimming pools and slide and swing and tumble on playground equipment. People built ninja squirrel obstacle courses to protect their bird seed and watched the squirrels beat the course and capture the seed. Did you watch that? I don't usually go for internet memes and viral videos, but I watched all 20 minutes. You know those little wheels that pet mice and hamsters run on in their cages? Well, a team of Dutch scientists once decided to see if wild mice would play in them. They put a wheel out in a field with a little bit of food near it. Well, not only did the mice come and hop into the wheel to play, but so did lots of other creatures, including frogs and snails and slugs. And even when there wasn't any food, they still came back to the wheel so they could run or ooze in it. Because playing makes all creatures smarter and happier. One scientist, Stuart Brown, a psychiatrist who founded the National Institute for Play, let one group of mice play naturally as they grew, but didn't allow another group of mice to play at all. One day, he put a collar soaked in cat scent in a room with them and scared all the mice into hiding to save themselves. And an amazing thing happened. The mice who had learned to play eventually came out from their hiding places to explore. But the mice who had never played or learned to play at all stayed hidden forever, never able to overcome being afraid. And eventually they starved themselves. They didn't know how to stop being afraid. They actually worried themselves to death. So play and keep playing your whole life long, because this is serious business. Playing teaches us to solve problems together. It not only deflects violence in others, it actually makes us grow up nonviolent. We learn how to practice non-confrontational defiance. Playing builds resilience, the ability to overcome pain and disappointment and keep coming back, fresh and ready to work. Playing builds empathy, the ability to understand other people and what they want and need, and to care about finding ways to change things so they are better for all people, not just for ourselves. Playing builds creativity, the ability to imagine a different world and find amazing and different ways to make it a reality. And playing builds our emotional and spiritual stamina to achieve those transformational changes. So, seriously, play so you can learn to love. Play as if your life and those of others depend upon it. Because you know what? They do. Thank you. Thank you, Hal. Okay, so I am short. Apparently very short. And there are downsides to being this short. I can't reach anything on the second shelf of a cupboard unless it's in the front row. Putting a carry-on into the overhead bin is an adventure. But I totally love being short. I can stand anytime I want in an airplane, in any seat I have, including a window seat, because I do not hit the bottom of that overhead bin, even when fully erect. I rarely block anyone's view. Now, despite being the oldest of 12 children, I am the effective measuring stick in my family for when a sibling or their children have reached the milestone of being grown up. And being as I am not grown up, or in the words of my husband, I have remained fun size, I have yet to find a swing set where at least one of the swings is not high enough for me to engage in full throttle swinging. One can deal with a lot of other things if one is always able to swing. To swing. To sit, feet up, gently begin bending your arms in and out. To start moving and gradually bring your body forward and then straighten it back, lifting your face to the sky. And as you swing higher, to begin bending your knees to come back down and up, and then straightening your legs to fly back out in rhythm with your arms as you soar higher and higher until you are vigorously pumping both arms and legs in time, wind rushing through your hair, past your face, feet almost touching the sky. So fast and far that at the top of the swing, you leave the seat briefly, flying unsupported, body straight out, world blurring past, sky becoming your home, until gravity reclaims you, helps you back, and sets you up for the next breathtaking flight. Free and wild, at home. Yes, one can deal with a lot of others if one is always able to swing. Once you have surrendered yourself to play, you need no one to explain to you what a spiritual experience of belonging in this universe is like. No one has to convince you that, of course, play is a spiritual practice. But today, perhaps I can remind you that it may be the exact spiritual practice that your soul longs for. When I first started thinking about what turned into this service, it was February. It was going to be about empathy and how we can fail it and it can fail us. And as we approached the June date for my giving it to my home congregation, I had decided that was way too heavy for hearts wearied by isolation and pandemic. And I decided on May 25th to announce the next day to my mentor, I would instead talk about play. After all, even that most serious of theologians, Thomas Aquinas, told us, unmitigated seriousness betokens a lack of virtue, because it wholly despises play, which is as necessary for the good human life as rest is. You noticed, right? May 25th, the day George Floyd last breathed on this earth. The day the world stood still and called us to turn it more urgently toward justice. The day the idea of play and fun became insanely frivolous, cringe-worthy, and seemingly utterly beyond reach, given all the work we must do. And yet, she persisted. Because what if this thought that had come unbidden was an inspiration? And then I found this from Adrienne Marie Brown, a Black feminist activist in Detroit, formerly the executive director of the Ruckus Society. Pleasure reminds us to enjoy being alive and on purpose. Pleasure, embodied, connected pleasure, is one of the ways we know when we are free, that we are always free, that we always have the power to co-create the world. Pleasure helps us move through the times that are unfair, through grief and loneliness, through the terror of genocide, or days when the demands are just overwhelming. Pleasure heals the places where our hearts and spirit get wounded. Pleasure reminds us that even in the dark, we are alive. Pleasure is a medicine for the suffering that is absolutely promised in life. Pleasure is the point. Feeling good is not frivolous. It is freedom. Feeling good is not frivolous. It is freedom. The harsher the world, the clearer the causes for depression, fear, anxiety become, the more we need the benefits of play, the pleasure, the release, the rejuvenation, the healing. Playing claims our dignity, our full-fledged humanity, creative beings entitled to joy and purpose. Now we need the tremendous resilience of knowing how to find love and joy and life in desperate times. And one source of that resilience is pleasure in play. Play teaches us, as it did the mice, to trust enough to head back out into a dangerous world. Play helps us remember why we want to and need to keep going, because freedom and connection and life are worth it. Play can both express and teach love. And when love becomes who we are, we rise, we work, we side with love. And then play also gives us the emotional resources and stamina to withstand, even diffuse confrontation and violence and injustice in a relentless pursuit of justice. These aspects of play are encapsulated in the movie Life is Beautiful, in which a loving father protects his son from the worst of the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp by pretending they are playing a game. Rather than allowing them both to be dehumanized, he plays, thereby claiming, even celebrating his essential humanity. And in his playing, he is inspired to find ways that improve his son's physical as well as emotional life. Play releases us to imagine and construct beautiful, achievable, radical solutions to problems that have proven intractable to the same old, same old. And then it gives us the energy to find ways to make them into reality. Marisol Caballero, the Faith Innovation Specialist in the UUA's Faith Development Office, puts it this way: honestly, sometimes the world seems too heavy to leave the house, let alone inspire moments of joy. But the more I watch the news these days, the more I'm coming to view playing, intentionally seeking joy, as a means of radical resistance. What do you do? What are you going to do to intentionally seek joy and freedom? How will you sustain your radical resistance? It's not that playing is easy, a mere absence of effort. It is that the purpose in playing transcends the arbitrary limits of what is, to embody the way it can be. The relationship of love to play is something that Robbie Walsh muses upon in his meditation, Tucked In. Watching a neighbor carrying a sleeping child into a dark house, he recalled his children and then himself as a boy, falling asleep in the car on the way home after a long, exhausting day of family fun and being carried up to bed. I have no answers for ultimate questions, he writes, but I do have some partial truths that I'm quite sure of. Here is one. There is love in this world. There is trust, and there are places of safety where a person can lay down their head for a while. The world is not entirely so, but I am absolutely certain that the world is partially a place of love. And wherever that love comes from, it is manifested in this world by human beings. We are the agents of that love. What is begun in the joy of play ends in loving action. What is begun in loving action ends in the joy of play. So go ahead, play your hearts out, rest your weary souls, and come back ready for another day, refreshed, creative, spiritually whole.
Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad. Every little cell in my body is well.
As we extinguish the chalice of our time together, let us move its light into our hearts. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. May we carry these in our hearts and minds until we are together again. Don't just do something. Stand there. Stand in the surf, or sit on a rock, or lay your body across the fragrant grass and be quiet, very quiet. Or run and jump and swing and throw and be free, very free. Do you hear it now? That still, small voice, the echo of your soul, whispering. There are 3 things you must do. Go outside yourself and know the needs of the world. Go within and discover your life-given gifts. Then arch yourself like a rainbow bridge between the two and create a more beautiful world. Friends, take very good care of yourselves, of each other, and of the world. Let us finish listening to Hal's brilliant music.